Uh, well, the essential core of pataphysics is anything that upsets the bourgeois culture, the bourgeoisie, anything that upsets that, which is pretty easy to do around here. I lived right across the street from the university where I teach. Back when I was 2 years old, that is the earliest recollection of life on the planet for me. And it is looking up in the sky and seeing the old West Texas thunderstorm take place, which is the bolts of lightning. I don't know that I was terrified or just basically impressed by the display. And I did not know at that time, but I was probably a worshiper of Zeus at an early age. But later on, I did read Greek mythology a whole lot. I never did connect the two until much time had passed. Me being a fan of any kind of science fiction, and Greek mythology is always full of the supernatural. Back in high school, everyone else was listening to Freddie and the Dreamers and, I suppose the Beatles albums for someone that were a little bit more hip. Gosh, I never was really into any of that stuff. I was more into the outfits like Soft Machine and Yardbirds and what have you like that. But Soft Machine had introduced themselves on the album as the official orchestra of the College of Pataphysics. And okay, it's a concept album. Many of them were concept albums, the Small Faces and what have you. But it wasn't until I saw a video on Max Ernst in recent times, in the early 90s or so, where he mentions that his art has an appeal only for poets, pataphysicians, and some illiterates. Well, there's that word that came up again. And I had been really, just before that, reading on the theories of modern theater, and Jarry and Pataphysics came up there too, and it didn't really ring a bell with me because I was more into Boris Vian and Samuel Beckett. But Boris Vian was definitely the president of the college, the original College of Pataphysics, and finally it connected when I saw the video with Max Ernst, and then the world of Alfred Jarry and all that opened up. My work has a focus over the last few years on being a commentary on technology, if you will, because you could characterize much of the sculpture that I do in clay as being fake machines, is what they end up being, even though they're cast in paper and they look like metal or some other material. I still stay with a quasi-mechanical situation, although I don't put the sculpture on wheels anymore, but there's only vague references to pressure points, smooth and rough studies in terms of points of wear, ruined equipment. Yeah, the idea of ruin associates my work with being romantic. The idea of romantic ruin and aspects of the picturesque. Yeah, you don't paint a slick barn, but you have a rough, beaten up one, the way my sculpture is. Well, the essential core of pataphysics is anything that upsets the bourgeois culture, the bourgeoisie, anything that upsets that, which is pretty easy to do around here if you're going to be at all abstract. But that would be the most pataphysical part of the work, is that no matter what, I don't think even in modernism that abstraction or non-objectivity really took all that well, even in the more elite realms of the cognoscenti. So since that my fake machines are only vaguely mechanical, they're dreamlike and futuristic, but then they're ruined pieces from the future, then that combination of elements is what makes the work pataphysical. But then again, because it's basically unaccepted. It is a challenge to the bourgeoisie, and therefore it's pataphysical. But it's pataphysical no matter what I do, because pataphysics runs from zero to infinity in all directions. So no matter what I do, it will be pataphysical. It's the people that are, as the Dadaists said, the ones that are against Dada are the true Dadaists. So you can see how the ideas of Dadaism come from pataphysics, and it's really the foundation of all modern art. It's the theoretical legs on which it all stands. Going back to even Manet, the founder of modern art, he was trying to upset conventional society, which was represented most by his father, who grudgingly supported him because of the hypocritical situation that the son, Edward Manet, found his father to be in. And it's the same kind of insult to the bourgeois that I'm into as well. Antonin Artaud, one of the supreme pataphysicians, states back around 1927, enough of the personal poems which benefit those who write them much more than those who read them. Enough once and for all of these manifestations of a closed, egotistical, and personal art. Our anarchy, our mental confusion, is a function of the anarchy of everything else, or rather, everything else is a function of this anarchy. I am not one of those who believe that civilization must change so that the theater can change, but I do believe that the theater, utilized in the highest and most difficult possible sense, has the power to influence the aspect and formation of things. And the encounter on stage of two passionate manifestations, two living centers, two nervous magnetisms is something as whole, as true, as decisive, even as in life the encounter of two epidermises in a momentary lust. This is why I propose a theater of cruelty with that mania for depreciating everything that we have today. As soon as I uttered the word cruelty, everyone immediately took it to mean blood, but theater of cruelty means a theater that is difficult and cruel, first of all for myself, and on the level of representation. It is not a question that cruelty which we practice on each other by cutting each other's body, by sawing away at our personal anatomies, or like the Assyrian emperors by sending each other packages of human ears, noses, or neatly severed nostrils through the mail, but that a much more terrible and necessary cruelty which things can practice on us. We are not free, and the sky can still fall on our heads, and the theater has been created to teach us, first of all, that.